Welcome to the IADS Retail Park. If you're returning, thanks for being here. And if you're new, you found the podcast that delivers retail strategy without the fluff. I'm Maya, and this show is brought to you by the International Association of Department Stores. We cover what's working in retail transformation, department store innovation, and the strategies shaping the industry. Today, I'm really excited to welcome Christine Montard, Director of Markets and Events at IADS and the author of this week's exclusive. Christine, it's nice to have you back on the show.
Thanks, Maya. And honestly, when I started researching this, I thought it would be a straightforward story about digital expansion, but it turned into something much bigger, a case study in what happens when two fundamentally incompatible business models collide.
So, Christine, let's start at the beginning. You actually got a chance to visit Kai Tak during last year's IADS General Assembly in Hong Kong, right? What was your first impression when you arrived at this former airport site?
The scale of it is the first thing that hits you, Maya. We're talking about 320 hectares. That's massive. But what really struck me wasn't just the size, it was the intentionality behind it. 27 years after the last plane took off, they're not just building another shopping district, they're creating something that feels like a neighborhood first, with retail woven into it, rather than the other way around.
That's a really interesting distinction, Christine. And I think it speaks to this broader shift we're seeing where retail isn't necessarily the main event anymore. When you were there, walking through Kai Tak Mall, Airside, and the Twins, how did that philosophy actually play out on the ground?
Well, think about Kai Tak Mall. They're calling it Hong Kong's first sportainment concept, which is a bit of marketing speak, but the idea is real. You've got 700,000 square feet of retail space, but it's built around the Kai Tak Sports Park, a 50,000 seat stadium, climbing walls, basketball courts running past. Families come for a soccer game or to use the free outdoor fitness equipment, and then they shop at Nike or grab dinner at one of 72 restaurants. The retail is there to serve the lifestyle, not drive it.
So it's almost like retail becomes kind of like the supporting infrastructure rather than the destination itself. And I'm curious, Christine, because Hong Kong has always been known for that luxury flagship model, the tourist driven shopping experience. This seems like a deliberate pivot away from that. Do you think it was that intentional based on what you observed?
Yes, it's absolutely intentional and it has to be. Hong Kong is facing this challenge where local consumers are increasingly shopping across the border in mainland China. The traditional model of relying on mainland tourists to fuel luxury retail isn't working the way it used to. So developers at Taika are betting on a different customer, local residents, families, sports enthusiasts, people who live there or nearby and need a place to spend their daily lives, not just their shopping budgets.
That makes a lot of sense when you think about the broader retail pressures Hong Kong is facing. And I want to dig into the three main retail anchors you visited. We just covered a bit about Kai Tak Mall, but there is also Airside and the Twins. Each one seems to have a slightly different strategy. Let's move on to Airside because I found the culturetainment positioning really intriguing.
Sure thing, Maya. Airside is a great example of this layered approach. It's a 1.9 million square foot mixed use development. So you've got offices, retail, dining all stacked together. But what sets it apart is how they've integrated culture and sustainability into the experience. There's a 10,000 square foot art gallery, an indoor surfing center, pet friendly spaces, even an educational urban farm. And environmentally, it's impressive. They've got rainwater harvesting, 850 EV charging spaces, and it's the first building in Hong Kong to receive 7 major green certifications.
It sounds like they're really trying to create reasons for people to be there that go beyond just shopping. And I'm thinking about the pet friendly angle too, pet grooming, pet supplies, spaces for owners and their animals. That's targeting a very specific lifestyle segment that traditional malls often overlook.
Right. And that's the point. It's not about casting the widest net. It's about creating deep engagement with specific communities. Pet owners, art lovers, people who want to surf indoors in Hong Kong. These are sticky audiences who come back repeatedly because the space serves their specific interests.
Now, let's turn to the Twins, which is particularly interesting because it's developed by IDS member Lifestyle International. This is their big bet on the Kai Tak vision. Christine, can you walk us through what makes the Twins different from their flagship Sogo in Causeway Bay?
The Twins is really a tale of two towers, literally. Tower One houses, Sogo Kai Tak, which opened in November 2024. It's 16 floors of what they're calling everyday premium. And here's the key difference from Causeway Bay: they deliberately excluded luxury brand concessions. You'll find Chanel and Dior beauty counters, but not the full luxury fashion flagships. Instead, it's positioned for premium to affordable luxury. Brands like Tory Burch, Coach, Hogan, plus a massive beauty section with over 110 brands, including a lot of Korean beauty.
So they're reading the market and saying the affluent customers moving into Kai Tak by 2036 want quality and variety, but they don't need the same luxury spectacle as tourists in Causeway Bay. That feels like a gamble, but maybe a smart one. What about Tower 2, SNDO?
S&DO is where it gets really experiential. It's opening in phases through 2026, and it's designed around curated thematic zones. The basement will have Fresh Mart plus a Japanese-inspired food hall with over 40 brands. Then you've got floors dedicated to pet vendors, a 20,000 square foot Japanese bookstore called S&DO Reads. Um, this is the one that really caught my attention. Hong Kong's first official Gundam base.
For listeners who might not know, Gundam is this massive Japanese media franchise centered on mecha anime and plastic model kits. It's got a cult following, especially among young males. So bringing the Gundam base to Kai Tak is basically saying we're building for fandoms and niche communities, not just broad demographics.
Yes, that's right, Maya. And it's not just a store, it's being positioned as a pilgrimage destination for fans. You'll have exclusive models, limited editions, exhibitions, events. It's retail as cultural experience. And that fits with the broader SNDO vision, which includes TT Hall, a 22,000 square foot multifunctional venue for concerts, performances, community events.
What strikes me, Christine, is that all three of these developments, Kai Tak Mall, Airside, the Twins, they're all betting heavily on experiential retail and community integration. But they're also all opening or expanding during a pretty challenging period for Hong Kong retail. You mentioned earlier that local consumers are spending more in mainland China. So, what's the risk here if this model doesn't work?
The risk is significant. The total development cost for Kai Tak is estimated at around 100 billion Hong Kong dollars or over 12 billion US dollars. And we've already seen some warning signs. New World Development, which owns K11, sold its stake in the sports park operations after posting its biggest ever loss. The success of this entire vision depends on two things. First, the continued residential build-out, bringing 134,000 residents to the area by 2036. And second, whether these experiential concepts can maintain relevance as consumer preferences keep evolving.
Sounds like it's a long game. And I think that's one of the most interesting strategic tensions here. This is patient capital at work in an industry that's increasingly driven by quarterly earnings pressure. Kai Tak started planning in 1992, opened retail in 2024, and won't reach full population until 2036. That's a 44-year timeline.
It is. And that's why this is such an important case study, not just for Hong Kong, but for the global retail industry. If Kai Tak succeeds, it could provide a blueprint for how physical retail justifies its existence in the e-commerce era by becoming something more than just a place to shop, a cultural hub, an experience destination, a community gathering place.
And if it doesn't succeed,
then it becomes a warning about the limits of experiential retail and the challenges of betting against decades of established consumer behavior. But I think what makes Kaita compelling is that it's asking the right questions. Not how do we get more tourists, but how do we serve the people who actually live here? That shift in perspective feels critical.
Christine, this has been such a valuable conversation. For listeners who want to dive deeper into all the details, the floor by floor breakdown of SOGO, the sustainability features at Airside, the full scope of the sports park, where can they find the complete exclusive?
The full exclusive from runway to retail engine in Hong Kong, Kaitak Bets on Community is available on our Substack at IADS Exclusive Insights. The link will be in the episode description, and we've included photos from our visit so you can really see what we're talking about.
Perfect. Christine, thank you so much for sharing your insights and for writing such a comprehensive piece on Kaitak. It's clear this project is going to be one to watch over the next decade.
Thanks for having me, Maya. It's been a pleasure to discuss it with you.
And to all of you listening to IDS Retail Park, thank you for tuning in. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with colleagues who are thinking about the future of physical retail. For more updates, follow us on LinkedIn at International Association of Department Stores. Check out our Substack and visit our website at www.iads.org for additional resources. Until next time, keep questioning, keep innovating, and remember, the runway may have closed, but the retail ambitions are just taking off.